Hey everybody, welcome back to Magic Orthodoxy. My name is David, and we're here doing a podcast. We're doing a podcast. Welcome to another episode of Talking to Strangers. And today's guest is Eric Stevens. So pretty thrilled about that. Hi, Eric.
Hi, David.
And we talked a little bit about this, but kind of the premise is that the topic is how we as magicians talk to strangers, but then also you and I. We have never met. Like we've never met. We've never talked like he shakes his head like no, no way. We've never talked like this, even in like a Zoom meeting or anything like that. We talk through Instagram and we send emails, but that's pretty much it. So I was excited
Yeah,
to do this.
yeah, man. I thank you for having me on. I appreciate it, and I've wanted to meet you for a really long time. Um, but just I never go to Magi Fest, and I've been wanting to. But the problem is, I save up enough money to go to like Magic Live every year, which I just came back from, and that's it. Like that's the one convention I make it to
Ah,
every year because I don't go to Blackpool. And Magic Life is the biggest convention of its kind in America, so it's the one time during the year I get to see all my friends or most of my friends in one place. And Magi Fest, I have a lot of friends like yourself and my friend Dan Luckett, people that are just like, we go to Magi Fest, you should come. We can see you that way. It would be awesome. But I just never get around to it. So my goal next year, along with the lecture tours that I'm going on in the UK and Europe, is to just go to more conventions, do more things, see more people, hopefully get booked at more conventions.
yeah,
So
that'd
that,
be cool.
yeah, then we can see each other. And, we essentially met because of your reviewing my product. So I
Right. Yeah,
sent you
exactly.
this
Yeah.
going, hey, nice to get to know you. Would you review my this or that? And say, yeah, send it to me, and off we went.
And I assume that like everywhere you go, besides the denim jacket, you always have this in your pocket, right? This is like everywhere you go. It's
Well,
like built up there.
I have
Yeah.
the new version now.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have the new version. Well,
yeah,
okay,
but
so
yeah.
like my first recollection of going into an actual brick and mortar store, I think the shop owner gave me like five things. I think I got a thumb tip and a scarf. He taught me how to do crazy man's handcuffs. I probably got some gimmicked thing. I don't know. And this. And like his whole deal was like he put them all on the table and he's like, "Oh, you get to pick your color," and taught me how to use it. And I've gotten other iterations of it, like this stupid thing, this clear one, this garbage. But I always fall back to something that's rectangular and has sharp edges. Like I just prefer I don't like all the gimmicky ones. I mean, I do like yours, but like I don't like the whenever they say like, oh, it's rounded on the edges or it's weighted or I like no, I like the old cheapy plasticky
Yeah,
one.
and
The one,
there's a novelty to it that's I think inherently attractive to
yeah,
kids, adults, where you just go, "Ooh, it's
right,
a shiny thing. What is it?"
yeah,
Right?
and it looks,
Um,
and I get it. It looks like a toy, but I think that's the fun part of it.
that's the charm. Yeah, I mean, this one,
Yeah,
if you I present it as a visible representation of a light wave spectrum, and if you
right,
Google light wave
yeah,
spectrum, like this image, essentially,
yeah,
that rectangle, like that's a real thing that comes up. So if you present it that way and people want to check your
right,
work, off
yeah.
you
I
go.
mean,
It's science.
your model and then also your force. Um, really took it from here to here. Like it really made it make sense. Because
Thanks.
I mean, this is a toy, but you also present it as a toy. The Force feels toyful, but yours has
Toyful. I
meaning
like
to it.
that's a new word. Toyful. I like that.
So we're talking about what it's like to go out into the real world, to kind of leave the realm of friends and family members and say, okay, I'm gonna put some magic tricks on my person. I'm gonna
Mhm.
walk out the door, and I hope that I bump into somebody that either wants to see me perform or I feel comfortable performing with. Like, do you remember like doing that for the first time? Like, do you remember how old you were or where you feel like you actually started doing magic for people that you didn't even know?
So,
Like a party?
yeah, I mean, I was always the kind of kid that not necessarily wanted to show off or not necessarily attention seeking, but I could do some weird, fun things, some party tricks, not magic related. And my parents, I won't use the word encouraged, but they were okay with me kind of showing them off. Like for example, I'm double jointed in both my arms, so they pop and bend and move in weird, twisty ways. And so I used to, when my parents would host parties, when I was a little kid growing up in California, I used to spin my hand all the way around and grab a soda and walk it out upside down, essentially. Like the can's the right way up, on my arms holding it the wrong way, and I would walk and hand it to them, just as a weird thing. And I used to do sound effects and crazy stuff like that. But when it came to magic, the first few times, of course, were for friends and family. I don't remember the exact moment that I started performing for people that weren't related to me, but I would guess that it became more common for me when I was about 9 or 10, because
Oh
we
wow.
moved to Washington State, which is where I live now, from California. And when I was still living in California, there was or hold on. Oh, no, sorry. No, we had moved. That's right. We'd moved to Washington State, and I had gone to something called Super Camp. Super Camp. Uh, and Super Camp was essentially a way to help kids who were not doing great in school. I'm a great learner and I'm a great student, but when it came to certain elements of school, especially when it came to like math and things like that,
Yeah.
literature, history, music, theater, dance, I could do all that, no problem.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But the more left brain stuff I
Right.
had trouble with. Um,
Yeah.
so, and I also have ADHD, but at the time we didn't know that,
We
and
didn't know what it
so
was. Yep.
constantly no one knew what it was. So it was kind of
Yeah.
constantly being, and autism too, is that sort of thing where they just go, oh, he's very distracted all the time.
Right.
So he's not finishing his homework. He's having
Right.
trouble understanding. Send him to this camp. The camp was a great time, but it was there that I met weirdly, not just one, three magicians, three young kids that did magic totally independent of each other, found each other, and then were just showing each other tricks. And that's where I saw like the Black Tiger, like the Shadow Masters deck,
Yeah.
not the Black Tiger, Shadow Masters
Yeah,
deck
the
for the
black
first time.
probably black tigers. Yeah.
Yeah, some kid had it, and I
Yeah.
remember really distinctly a kid putting a quarter on his hand and then snapping, and it was just gone, just vanished. And I had him show me again and again and again, and I begged him to teach me how to do it. And eventually, after I annoyed the heck out of him, he taught me, and I was like, oh, this is the most amazing thing. But and this was when I was 12, but I wasn't doing magic for people consistently that I didn't know until about that time,
Yeah.
after I moved. So I was about 12 years old, and learning it, doing it since I was 8 years old, but not getting comfortable with other people until that period. And so seeing these guys,
Yeah.
and they ranged in age. I think the youngest guy was probably like about my age, about 12. And then there was like a 13 or 14-year old, and some kid, I think he was probably about 15 or 16, or at least he looked like it. And they would just do stuff.
Yeah.
They would just show people stuff. And I was amazed at how bold they were and how fearless they were. And I was never a shy kid. I would walk up to people in airports when I was like 4 or 5 just to say hi. And my parents had to come and apologize for me. It's
Right.
like, sorry, it's not trying to bother you, because I liked people, but I didn't know how to translate that to magic until I watched these guys do it and went, oh, so that's how you do it. You just walk up and say, can I show you something?
Right. And that's interesting because it was your peers, really. I
Yeah.
think a lot of us, we see magicians that are older than us, or maybe, we went to a show and we saw a magician on stage, or a magician walked over to our table at a restaurant, or we saw one at a birthday party. Again, they're all older than us. You like saw people your own age and you saw them being bold and fearless, and you were like, I could do that too. Like that's an interesting origin story for you.
Yeah, I mean, I saw magicians when I was younger. The
Sure.
very first magician I ever remember seeing was at a blue and gold banquet when I was a scout. And I can't tell you who he was, but I
Sure.
can tell you that he did what he basically was like what he called the Harry Potter cup. So it was kind of like a load bowl or
Yeah.
one of those one just refilled over and over and over again. And what's funny is in my brain, I remember this guy as being like as a young kid looking at him, I remember him being middle aged, but he probably wasn't. He was probably, a teen or a young adult, and I
Just 20s. Yeah.
probably know that guy now, which is really funny. I just don't I can't find any evidence of like photos of him or anything like in old stuff, so I've never been able to figure out who it is. But that's the first magician I remember seeing in person was that. But the first time I remember feeling inspired to actually perform for people
Yeah.
in an informal setting was because of those three guys.
And you had mentioned earlier, well, you said it off the side. You said like, you walk up to somebody and say, "Can I show you something?" It, do you have an opening icebreaker line that you feel like you fall back on the most?
I mean, I've experimented with different things and I've tried to kind of break out of the box where we say, can I try something with you?
I try something with you.
But mostly because the phrase is funny to me. Can
Yeah.
I try something? No, why don't you succeed at something with me? I don't I don't want you to just try because if you fail, then I wait my time is wasted, right?
Plus, I don't
Unless
even
that's
know. Yeah, I don't know
right.
what you are. Are we gonna rob a bank together? Like, what are we doing? Like, is this?
I just gave you no context. I'm just a stranger walking up going, "Hey, you want to try something with me?" And what? That's weird. But so I did say that, but a lot
Yeah.
of times when I was younger, I would say, "Hey, you want to see something cool?" Because that's what I saw those kids doing.
Yeah.
They were cool kids. They were
Yeah.
like effortlessly just, not like the popular kids, but they were the kids that looked like they didn't care what anybody else thought about them. They were just there doing cool manipulations, and they were these inspiring figures. And so I said, well, if being cool is just about showing people cool stuff and thereby having that reflect onto to me, sure, I'll do it that way. Why not? But as time went on, I found that I attracted more attention when I was quiet, when I was silent about it, when I was in an environment that did not necessarily inspire magic. I just would bring a deck of cards with me on a bus, on the train, sitting on a bench, and I just practice. It wasn't for anybody else
Sure.
at the beginning. It's just for me. I'm just trying to go through the motions, the shifts, the palms, whatever. And the springs, especially, would get people's attention. And I remember trying to sit in the same place no matter what bus I got on. Oh, hold on. Sorry, my screen's. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let me turn my screen off and come back. Hold on.
Yeah. You're fine.
Good. All right. But I would try and sit in the same spot on the bus, no matter what bus I got on, because I found that in that location, essentially, it's when you first walk in and you get onto the bus, you have those first like six seats facing each other, three and three. And I realized that if I sat in one of those, inevitably, there would be people sitting across from me and they would notice what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think people just started leaning in and going, "Do that again. What is that? What you doing?" And I would just change stuff and I'd watch their eyes bug out of their heads. But I was doing it for me. And then I realized people were paying attention to what I was doing, and it was so much more effective because instead of asking only to be rejected, or at least being open to the possibility of rejection, which you should do anyway, right? You should
Right.
just get used to being rejected instead of avoiding it in all ways. But I found that being a successful magician that learned how to be better in unusual situations came much more intensely for me when people took it upon themselves of their own volition to ask questions. If I can do something silently that makes you approach me and ask me what it is that I'm doing, I now don't
Mhm.
have to worry about an icebreaker. I don't have to worry about doing anything but introducing myself and saying, well, here, let me show you something that I've been working on. Tell me what you think.
Right.
And when I phrase it like that, like it's practice, because it was, if I
Sure.
screw up, it's no big deal. But if I get it right, which I did most of the time, people would be even more impressed because they feel like they're being let in on this secret session, seeing someone that does this for a living,
Hmm.
getting to see something nobody else does, and then saying, "Here, let me show you something I've been working on." Oh, this is like beta testing. That's cool. And then we go right
And
into
they
it.
probably don't even know if you're a magician at this point, right? You haven't said
No,
like, "Hi, my name's Eric. I'm a magician."
no, no, no,
Right.
never, never.
Yeah.
I if I'm just springing cards, that attracts attention, but
Yeah.
no one realizes what I'm doing is magic, or probably because I'm not in their heads. I don't know. But I assume that most people didn't think I was a magician until I did something perceived, one might perceive regularly as magical. So, like a color change or a switch or, you know, producing a card, that kind of thing.
Right. When when Disneyland opened up their downtown district, they had a kiosk shop that was being run by the Houdini magic shop, and you know it's just a magic kiosk shop. So if you're shopping, you're just going to walk right by it. So the people that worked there, they would either play with a delight or they would do
Yes.
hover card, and they would do it to no one, just to themselves. And so immediately people that walk by stop and they want to like then a crowd forms, and as soon as a crowd forms, then you have an audience, and then boom. It's like
Yeah, my
they
first
didn't
magic
talk to
shop job.
anybody.
Yeah,
Huh?
my first magic shop job was a kiosk.
Yeah. So do you feel like you end up opting for that option more is to have people approach you? You just feel that's a more comfortable approach.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally situational.
Okay.
I don't think there's a one size fits all approach to everything, because there's a difference between an environment where the magic is happening and it's unexpected versus an environment where a magician has been hired to perform and you're just waiting for him to get there.
Mm,
Like if I'm doing walk, and even then they don't necessarily want to see me, right? If I go up
sure.
to a group, 99% of the time they're like, yeah, show us what you got, which is already a little confrontational. But they're fine with it. But sometimes I've gone up to groups and they're in the middle. It's, you know, because it's a corporate event. It's really just one giant business discussion.
Right.
So I sometimes find myself entering one of those business bubbles and being told I don't belong in it, but come back later.
Okay.
Uh, but most of the time, if people expect there to be magic, they're open to it, right?
Yeah.
Versus me on a bus and someone seeing something magical
Sure.
happen,
Yes.
because it's monotony, especially on someplace like a bus or on a park bench. These environments that are commonplace where nothing happens except the same thing over and over and over and over again. No one is expecting any sort of, you know, variety at a bus stop besides maybe the clientele of people that show up to get on it. So,
And
yeah,
we all always hear that like, if you want to take your magic from here to here, then the best thing to do is to get out there and perform. Like practicing in
yeah,
your room only takes you so far. You want to be around real people in a real situation. You want to fail in front of people and have that experience too. So if I like load up with some tricks and I'm thinking to myself like I could I could probably walk around like an outdoor mall and like look for people. Like if you were going to walk around and you were in your head thinking, I want to perform some magic today, what would be like an ideal setting? Like what are you looking for, either in the location or the people or what they're doing? Like what would you be looking for that you think would be receptive to you?
I would be looking for people that seem bored or are on their phones or don't have anything else better to do. Like, for example, in a mall, right?
Yeah.
If you can do magic in a mall, you don't necessarily want to stop people that are rushing past you because those people clearly have a destination, right? They would not be moving that fast, that consistently if they did not have a point B from their point A, right?
Sure.
Whether meeting a person or going to a restaurant or getting to a store before it closes, that is not a person you want to say, "Hey, do you have a second of your time?" Because that turns you into Greenpeace or, a Scientologist on the Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone is just kind of hanging out by a railing, or maybe they're in the food court but they finished eating, something along that lines, because you don't want to approach. That's one of the tough things about restaurant work is when you're performing and they're enjoying it, and then the food comes, or if your only remaining table is someone that's got food already, and you go, I can't stop you in the middle of eating, right?
Right.
To pick a card. That's rude. That doesn't work. So find people in similar environments that are in a bit of a lull, that are trying to figure out what to do next. Because if they're in that state of mind, if they're already actively seeking entertainment of some kind, it's usually going to be their phones if they don't
Yeah,
have a
that's true.
specific place to go. And magic is infinitely better than doom scrolling. So I find that if you're doing that, it'll work really well. My mom used to help run the farmers market in the little town where I grew up. So every Friday after school, I would walk straight to the park because it was right down the street from the high school. And I would walk around performing for vendors, for people that were enjoying it, because it's all one big lull. It's all just people in a very casual setting, moseying their way from one spot to another, not really knowing what they're doing, where they're going. It's just one big browsing session. And they don't necessarily know what they're looking for, because if they did, they would be at those booths already,
Right.
right? Or they would say, "Hi, can you tell me where I can find this place?" And then they go there. Again, same mentality as the person going from point A to point B. There is an intended destination, and if they are not there already, they are on their way. Don't worry about those people. Worry about the people that seem to have no real purpose in their walk, in their intent.
Yeah. And I would think that the same thing applies to a corporate event or a wedding. Like we think about the reception of a wedding as being having some stages. Like there's that beginning part where everyone's waiting for the bride and groom to come into the room, and then all of those people are waiting. They're all just kind
Yeah,
of waiting for something to
cocktail
happen.
hour. Yeah,
Right.
the
So
cocktail.
that'd be a good time. But then you have the meal, so that's a bad time. And then people might think, oh, well, then there's dancing. So then the dancing is also a bad time. It's like not everybody dances. Lots of people sit in those chairs and they do nothing and they watch people dance. And those people would be great to walk up to because, like you say, they're looking for some entertainment, but for right now, they're just kind of sitting and doing nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And weddings too are interesting because I've been hired for events where I'm a surprise. And that can be tough because it kind of brings us back to what we talked about, where people have these expectations or not, right? If a magician's coming, then at some point you're probably going to see the magician. So if someone comes up with a deck of cards going, "Hey, you want to see something?" It's probably the guy. If not, that's just weird.
Yeah.
But at a wedding, so I've been hired for events for weddings where they want me to work the reception or the cocktail hour, whatever it is. but they don't necessarily tell people that there's going to be a magician. So it's a bit of a surprise. And now you have people that go, oh, well, that's delightful.
Right.
I'd love to see some magic, of course. And then you have people that go, oh, I mean, that's cool, but I'm good. Thanks, man. And you just respect those people. I remember reading, oh, what was it? I can't remember what the book is, but I remember reading in a magic book once that people who see someone while they're performing magic, some guy that's not interested, right? That's clearly against everything that's going on. He doesn't want to be involved. He doesn't want to see the magic. And his friends are going, no, no, come here, you got to see this, trying to force him into it. You go, no, no, I don't want to do magic for that guy. I don't want to force him into something he doesn't want to do. That's just going to make things awkward for everybody because this guy has to tolerate what I'm doing. And I have to hope that he's receptive enough to participate, if not enjoy it. So if you're the kind of person that is sort of new to this idea of walk around or approaching people, if someone says, no, I'm all right, thanks, don't push it. Don't
Right.
force it. Just say, okay, I can come back later if you like.
Mhm.
You give them the option, you leave it open, and you just walk away. Because a lot of times, those people that say no, maybe they have a good reason, maybe they don't, whatever it is. If you perform well enough for other groups that are nearby, even if they're not necessarily being able to see those groups, depending on how big the venue is or where you are, they can probably hear them
Right.
because the reactions are great. And I've had that happen where people said, no, thanks, I'm not into it. And I go, okay, no problem. I can come back later if you like. And they're like, it's fine, whatever. And I go walk around and I get people screaming, reacting to stuff. And those people go, hey man, actually, would you make some time for me?
Yeah.
And camera's off again. Hold on. Sorry, I'm not sure what's going on with my phone. I've got good connection. Weird. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
Those people will eventually be jealous because everyone else is experiencing something that they're not, and they
Right.
feel especially guilty because they said no. But it's not it's not a confrontational thing because you said that's fine, no problem. I can come back later, or you know where to find me. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. And I think that's always a big, hesitation because it almost feels like, you're asking a girl to dance or something like, hey, you want to see a magic trick? No? Oh, man. And you feel like you're being rejected. And so we don't put ourselves out there because we don't want to be rejected. But just like you said, it doesn't have anything to do with you. Like they just maybe are not into it right now, or they're doing something else, or it was a surprise and they're not open to it. Or maybe they don't like magic. They don't know you, so it has nothing to do with you.
Right, exactly. They may be going through something. And I tell this to people a lot that in my experience, there are four main types of people. There are the people that love magic no matter what, any time of day, night, whatever. They are up for it. You have the people that uh, hate magic specifically because they had a bad experience with usually with a magician, usually when they were younger, and those people are really hard to get back. You have the people that hate magic because it's an intellectual challenge
Mm.
and
Yeah,
makes them feel stupid. And then you have the
right.
people that enjoy magic but are intrigued intellectually by it, where they're very analytical of what's happening. They're enjoying it, but their brain can't help but try and break things down, not because it makes them feel stupid, but because they want to feel smarter.
Sure. Yeah. So for the people that do say yes, and you kind of got that in, and you've done a trick for them or two,
Yeah.
what are you looking for to where you feel like, oh, okay, I feel like they've had enough and I should move on? Like some people, they probably want you to keep going and going and going, and like you said, they love magic and just never stop. And then when you leave, they're like, ah. But isn't there a group where you kind of just feel it that you're like, I should probably go now? Like, do you ever get
Yeah,
vibes from people?
sure. Sure, that does happen. It's usually older folks. where maybe it's a family sitting together, multi-generational, where you've got maybe some young kids that are really enjoying it, but grandma and grandpa are just kind of going, "Oh, yeah, that's nice. That's nice. That's fine. The kids are happy. That's great. Oh, we'll clap. Sure. No problem." And there's only so much material that I have to entertain children, right? So I'll do a few things that the kids can enjoy, right? Maybe one or two things the kids can enjoy, one or two things that everyone can probably enjoy, and then I take my leave and I move on to the next table because you don't, or the next group, because anyone that's done walk around knows that you generally don't want to spend more than like 5 to 7 minutes with a group, right? Especially if you have a lot of groups to hit. If it's a really big corporate event, if they're hiring you for 3 hours, you got time and you can bump up, 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 up like a pinball, right? Bounce around. But if it's only like 100 people and they want you there for 2 hours, take your time, sure. But most of the time, you just need to show them something cool, something quick, something memorable, maybe toss a business card out, move on to the next one.
Do you feel like you structure things the way, we always hear is that you have something snazzy to catch their attention, and then you've got like two or three kind of like middle of the sandwich tricks and then like a kicker ending? Like, do you feel like you structure like that, or do you feel like you play it more organic?
It depends on the group, but I try and kind of go with the flow. I do have like my openers and closers that I tend to stick with. And if you've read Jamie D. Grant's book, The Approach, you know that he suggests having 12 pieces of magic that you bring with you, and you have essentially four sets. So you can have four tours of a room, right? So you just alternate between sets. So if you do one set for this group, then move to the next group, and this group follows or is still watching you, they're not seeing the same stuff they've seen before, right? So I do try and carry a bunch of different things on me of different types. Some card stuff that's more intellectual, some card stuff that's more visual. Uh, I'll admit that it took me a while to not be ashamed with including sponge bunnies. Like I've worked magic shops most of my life. I'm very good at sponge bunnies and I prefer it over sponge balls, and it gets incredible reactions. But there was that part of me that felt like it was childish.
Oh
I go
yeah.
like I in my head I'm going, I know this gets great reactions, but sponge bunnies at a corporate event, like that doesn't seem like it would work. And I know magicians, and they may watch this later, that say, no, of course, I would never bring sponge bunnies to a corporate event because those are childish. The corporate event, those are adults, those are classy people, right? Those are sophisticated folks. You would never bring sponge bunnies to that. But a lot of these corporate events, those sophisticated folks take the opportunity at these big, these banquets, these galas, whatever it is, to just kind of relax, right? Pop the button on the suit open and just go, I'm not at work. I get to eat, hang out with friends, say and do whatever I want, and they're much more chill about it. And Sponge Bunnies absolutely kills, right? So I've got certain things, certain closers, openers that I use. Um, but the middle ends up being a bit mercurial.
Do you have a favorite reaction that you've gotten from a stranger? Like, you remember something that you were just like, did not expect them to react that way, good or bad?
Yes, yes, I do. Um, I have
Okay.
two response. So I will tell you the two best responses I ever got from magic when I was growing up, learning how to perform for people. So these both happened when I was in high school. There is in Idaho something called the 50,000 Silver Dollar Bar. It is a bar, restaurant, and essentially gift shop, and it's called such because they have 50,000 plus silver dollars that within the little bar slash casino area makes up the walls and the actual bar itself. They're embedded inside under resin.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible. And as a band member, my school band would travel to Missoula, Montana every year to compete. And on the way back, we would stop at the 50,000 silver dollar bar. We wouldn't get to stay for more than about 15 minutes, which meant that it wasn't until I actually got engaged to my wife on a trip to Montana that we were able to stop at 50,000 silver dollar bar for the first time. And I was actually able to enjoy it since high school. But I was there, and there was a really cute girl that I saw, and I went up to her and said, with a deck of cards, and say, "Hey, do you want to see a cool trick, magic trick?" And she's like, "Oh, okay, that's cool, right?" And I start showing her something, and someone else shows up, and someone else shows up, and I start building this little crowd in the middle of the 50,000 silver dollar bar. And I'm doing an effect, and forgive me, even though I'm quite good with crediting, the name of the effect is escaping me as well as its provenance. I apologize for the historians watching slash listening, where you have them select a card, it gets buried in the deck. You have another card that's not theirs, they hold it face down, you fan the deck, and you say, all right, insert the card without letting go into the deck wherever you think yours is. It's just intuition. And they do so. You say, card on either side. Is that yours? No. Is that yours? No. That's because you found it already, and the card in their hand changes to theirs. It's a very strong effect. And I used to do it constantly. And I remember there was a guy standing behind her, tall guy, big, kind of a bigger guy, an adult, standing behind her while I was doing this. And she turns the card over, and it's hers. And of course, she freaks out, and he goes, "Oh, you did not just do that!" Oh, and he just like screams and runs, right? And because he's loud and boisterous, everyone gets loud and screams, and so that was a very good one. But the best reaction, and I've gotten, as magicians, we've all gotten some crazy reactions from stuff,
Yeah.
but please understand when I call this the best reaction, I'm not saying that so you go like, really, the best reaction you ever got was in high school? You've been doing this for how long?
Right.
No, it's because this is the most memorable
Sure.
reaction for me. Still to this day. My father decided he wanted to learn how to make cheese. So he went to Quillisasket, and he went to a farm, and he learned how to make cheese. And so he made it was like a 2 week long or 2 week long class, and he made friends and came back. And one of the friends he made there, she had called him and said, "Hey, do you want to come visit myself and my husband and hang out? And we'll take you to a show, and we'll just hang out." And he says, "Sure." And he takes me along. So we go to Bainbridge Island, which is here in Seattle nearby. And it's a lovely, lovely place. And we go to a local theater where they're putting on a production of Cats, Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats.
Okay.
Good production, better production value than the actors, I think. But they put a lot of work into it. It was generally a great production. But during the intermission, those tall tables that when you go to get like the little paper cups of coffee,
Right.
you stand and you talk in the lobby. So they had those set up. And I don't know these people. I don't know anybody. It's all adults, not much of the way of children. I was really the only one there, and I was like a teen. So I went off to a table by myself to just shuffle cards, just practice, because I had no part of that conversation. It didn't make sense to me. I was not involved. So I went to another table nearby, and I just started shuffling cards. That's it. Wasn't doing magic, wasn't spring, just shuffling cards. And there was a guy that came around, stood right in front of me, and went, "Show me a trick."
Okay.
Didn't ask me if I was a magician. I could very well have just been a guy playing with cards, but
Yeah.
he wasn't wrong. And I said, "Okay." So I start showing him some stuff, and he's loving it. And then, of course, he's reacting. So all these people, including my father, are all going, "Oh, what's happening?" My dad's going, "Oh, my son's doing magic. So let's go over there." So now everyone is gathered around my table. No one is at any of the other tables. They don't care anymore. My table. And I'm doing some stuff. And there was a rather elegant older lady that's standing across from me. Beautiful. And she's mad. Really, really mad. She's irate because she can't figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah.
and you can see her getting more and more pissed off, and the little like anime vein popping in her forehead because it's not making sense. And there's a moment where I take my Sharpie, boom, and I make it vanish. You doing that? And everyone else is enjoying it, but she can't break away from the analytical mindset. I'm just punching her in the face with magic, just over and over and over. And the thing is, like, I know how to pull back, right? I know how to restrain myself and not give everybody too much at once. But it was really, really fun to just destroy her head over and over and over again. And plus, I was a teen.
Right.
I had I had an ego. I was like, well, I'm good at what I'm doing. She can't figure it out. I'm just going to keep going, and that's risky. That's a bad idea. It's risky generally because what if you screw up, right? You had this entire golden streak, and then you just ruined it all because now they've got you. Now they've got something, and they go, ah, the rest of it doesn't matter anymore because you're bad at your job. You're a loser. I figured it out. And so I make a Sharpie vanish, right? And she's, you know, what? It's crazy. And there's a moment where I say, oh, you have a very beautiful scarf. And it was incredible, the dichotomy of her personality, how it went from, how's he doing this to, oh my God, thank you. Hey, wow, I appreciate that. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. And I said, can I see it? And part of me genuinely wanted to see it because it was a gorgeous scarf. And I go, wow, that's so nice. Oh, there's my Sharpie. And I pull it out from under her scarf. I couldn't resist. And I
Sure.
produce it from under her scarf. And she yells, and you told me not to swear, so I'm going to censor it. But she goes, "F you," as loud as she can and storms out. And this is like beginning of wintertime. It's cold outside. And she's just standing there in the cold outside, fuming, furious. And then she came back inside to watch more.
Yeah.
Still, to this day, best, or at least my
Sure.
favorite reaction. And again, do you see how much more effective that experience was by just letting people come to their own conclusions and approach me? Had I started walking table to table, I might have annoyed her because that that type of personality, right, where
Right.
she's automatically confrontational, automatically aggressive, automatically want to figure things out. Yeah, she might have said like, I'm really good at figuring out magic tricks, so let's see how this goes. I don't want it to start like that. So I'm glad I didn't do that. I just sat and shuffled cards and people came to me and I got that kind of reaction out of it.
And she probably remembers you still too.
I hope so.
So, I know all the band geeks now want to know what instrument you play.
I play 8 different instruments.
In band, what did you play when you were in
So
band?
when I was in band, I started off by playing trumpet. That was my very
Trumpet.
first instrument because my parents said you can play brass or you can play woodwinds, pick. But I was really inspired by like Wynton Marsalis and Louis Armstrong as a kid, so I really enjoyed the idea of the trumpet. So I started with trumpet, and then I transitioned into French horn because my
Oh wow.
school, being very small, all the boys wanted to play trumpet. We had like,
Sure.
I'm not exaggerating, we had like 10 or 15 trumpets. That's too many.
That's too
That's
many.
too many trumpets.
Yeah.
So I started playing French horn, and then a couple other guys joined me on French horn, and I was annoyed because I was like, no, I want to be the only French horn. The
I'm French
reason I
horn.
came here, you're a French horn player?
No, I was clarinet.
Oh, you were clarinet. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. I wish I could play, but the reeds, my embouchure just doesn't. It's made for metal. It's made for metal. I can't. It just doesn't work for me. But I was like, no, I came to French horn because you guys were in trumpet. Stay in trumpet. Leave me alone. So I moved again into euphonium, or the baritone horn, which is like one step under a tuba, but
Oh,
it's
okay.
much more portable. And I was the only one. I was the only one that played that, and I used to play that in marching band along
Okay.
with trumpet.
So when people talk about playing or performing for strangers, I think what you hear is the advice is stop practicing in your room and get out there and perform for real people. But it sounds like the Eric Stevens approach is stop practicing in your room and go practice in public.
Yeah, that's now I'm not saying that's all you should do
Sure.
because
No, yeah, but a good
I
start.
yeah, it's a great place to start if especially if you're a little more timid and you're not sure what to do, you're not sure what to say. And I know like a couple of my students in particular, like they're great at doing the moves, doing the things, but are still excuse me, are still a little bit hesitant about actually doing stuff for people. And one student in particular, he's much better than he thinks he is. And I tried to tell him that all the time. He still doesn't think like he still doesn't consider himself to be a magician. And I go, then when? Like, what do you?
Right,
How do you define being a magician? Like, you're doing
right.
it, man. I promise. You're doing magic. You're a magician. And he, performed for people. He's performed for some people because I've made him do it. But lately, he's been sending me texts going, "Hey, I just performed for this group of people doing this thing." And I go, "Man, that's great. I'm so proud of you." Sometimes you just have to go up to people. And so, like, when we're out to do our weekly sessions or weekly lessons, I will demonstrate not just what an effect will look like, but how to approach people. I'll just say, look, point to somebody, point to anybody, right? Them over there. And if there's a reason why I wouldn't walk up to them, I'll tell them that, right? But otherwise, I'll say, yeah, okay, let's go do it. Follow me. And then I walk up and I just say, hi, I'm Eric Stevens. I'm a magician. This is my student such and such. And he's learning some new stuff, but he's a little new to the whole process. Would you mind watching him perform something? Would you mind if you let him try, practice this new thing with you? And that's exciting for people because
Yeah,
it's novel.
right.
And you can approach it that way. Even if you're the most seasoned magician in the world, you can come up and go, "Hey, I've been learning how to do magic, and I'm trying a new thing. I don't really know if it works. Would you be okay with me
Right.
practicing with you?" And when you remove the ego out of it,
Yes.
because that is what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's probably a new thing, right? If you're
Yes.
trying out new material, it is a new thing. You do need to try it with people. You aren't sure if it's going to work necessarily or work the way that you hoped it will, especially if you're like me, where you're inventing magic all the time and you need to test it on people. It's not like I go to Penguin and buy a thing where they say this is really good and I can, probably infer that it's going to work. I have to test stuff out. And so if you approach it that way, that tends to help where you say, "Hey, do you mind if I practice this with you?" And if they say no, you say, "Okay, no worries. Thanks a lot. Have a great day." And I try to do that too. Have a great day. It's so nice talking to you. I appreciate you. Have a great day.
Yeah. And if you approach
The-
somebody cold, there's an ounce of bravery in there, and so you might think like, well, I just need to be bold and confident and just and show some aggressiveness and say, hi, I'm a magician. I would like to show you a trick. But if you approach somebody with vulnerability, their guard lowers. I
yeah,
I'm so much more attracted to somebody who's vulnerable and honest as opposed to a car salesman who just wants to show me something or pitch something to me. Like you said, it's
right,
going to come off across as like somebody at the airport trying to sell you religion.
right. But the thing is, there are people that make that work for them, and you
Sure.
and I'm sure that if off camera, if we could name three or four people on our own, going, these people can approach anyone and make it work, right? But that's a level of charisma that not everybody has,
Right.
or
Especially
that
starting
not
out.
everybody has learned to tap into yet.
Right.
So approaching somebody in that with a bold stance, that could absolutely be you. That could work. But you really won't know unless you try it. You just have to get out there and do stuff. And that's what was nice about working in the farmers market and the bus stops and on the bus and the train, because when I was growing up, I didn't know any magicians. I didn't have anybody to help me learn stuff. And when I got online for the first time and connected with a few people online, I kept hearing this thing about you need a place to be bad. You need a place
You're
to
right.
be bad, right? To try out material. But I'm, 13, 14, 15. I can't go to a comedy club. I can't do what a lot of these guys are doing. No one's hiring me for a gig. I'm a teen. So, maybe I'll do a birthday party or a senior center here and there, but where can I be consistent? And the thing about consistency is that it, ironically, it's very inconsistent. So you have to create your own consistency. So for me, I found a consistent environment somewhere I was going to be all the time that would constantly introduce me to new people and new opportunities, like the bus. And that was my place to be bad. If something didn't work, then it didn't work, and I probably never see those people again.
Right. Yeah. Do you what would you do if you get to the end of your trick and you realize it's screwed up? Like, how do you recover from that?
I think probably just depends on how I screwed up.
Sure.
Like, here, give me a scenario.
Oh, well, like you okay, so I did the last event I did tossed out deck, and I probably had six ladies, and then of course the last lady who's still standing, I'd never named her card. So at that point I was stuck. So what I said to her was like, "Oh, that's interesting. Like that's very like, you know what? Sit down and I want to do something special with you later." That's how I recovered from it. But
Sure, and that's certainly very
but then I
valid.
forgot. But then because I was so set in my routine, I didn't have a moment in my routine that I had planned to actually get back to her. So I ended up forgetting about her.
And I've done that too, and I didn't realize until later, and I go, oh, yeah, that's terrible. If you're in like a stage environment or power environment, or if you're walking around and you carry an invisible deck on you, obviously that's the classic out. You can do that. But if you don't have an invisible deck, and if I screw up and go, oh wait a minute, sorry, you didn't sit down. What was your card? It wasn't one of the ones that I named, and I list them off again. No, it wasn't. It was the six of spades. Six of spades. Really? That's crazy. And I reach in and grab a regular pack of cards, right? Not even a deck switch, just regular pack of cards. Six of spades. That's that doesn't make any sense. You couldn't have seen the six of spades in here because that's the card that's in my pocket, right? You can go into so many different things, and occasionally there will be times when you find yourself in a situation that you just don't have a clean way out of, and you go,
Right.
hey guys, you know what, I just realized I kind of screwed up. And if it's the kind of thing where I can't just start over, then I'll go, I kind of screwed up. You know what, let me redeem myself. I screwed up. Let me redeem myself by trying something entirely different, and I guarantee you're going to love this. And then you just move on. But if it is the kind of thing I can start over, then I'll say, hey, let me redeem myself. Can I start over? And I found very often that it is much less jarring and makes more sense for people if you screw up and say, I screwed up. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Is it okay if I start over? Because they feel a little bit bad for you. And then you just kill them with something incredible, and they forget that you were not very good for a second.
Mhm.
What they will remember later is that you were human, you had a moment, and then they'll maybe think that it was all just an act because you were so good with everything else, right?
Yeah, and I
Magic,
think
as
people
before, has
might
been
be
material.
tempted to gloss over that though. Like if you're nervous and you make a mistake and you're so worried about like, oh, the magician's code, I have to keep secrets. But to
Yeah.
be vulnerable, again, so you're going back to vulnerability again and saying, hey, I'm human, I made a mistake, and you just call it for what it is, then your audience members kind of relax and go, oh, okay, he made a mistake. Whereas sometimes, when you watch somebody, like they're singing or you're watching somebody perform, in your head, as the audience member, you're thinking, they just screwed up, right? And Now they're just ignoring it. They're going to move on, and they never mention it. They never call attention to it. That could actually, I don't know, backfire. But like you said, if you just are honest and then you find a way to recover from it, then they'll just end up forgetting that you ever did that in the first place.
Yeah, like I've had gimmick decks or gimmick cards in
Yeah.
a deck, which is printed or stuff, where someone calls me on it, either because I flash it wrong or something, and I go, "The hell's this?" Toss, and I just move right in. You keep moving. You got to be like a shark, man. You just got to keep moving forward. Otherwise, you're gonna die. You're gonna die in the water, right? Like that's why they call it killing. Because if
Yeah.
you kill, look, and magicians will not phrase it like this, but I will. It's kill or be killed. That's
Yeah.
that's what it is. So you can allow yourself to be wounded for a second, but keep moving forward, and people will forget that you were hurt at all.
What about the spectators that are out to get you? Well,
Okay.
how do you
In what sort of, like, they're
like,
calling out
they're
something?
always or they're crossing their arms, or they're like, oh, I can do that, or that's just a trick deck, or that's just mirrors or whatever. Like, what about the people that are heckling you?
Well, it depends on the heckle. It depends on what they're doing. Like working at the magic shop, as I do, it's often kids that are like this, but like teenage boys or like 12, 13, 14, where they've seen the trick before, they know it all. And there are a bunch of lines you can use, right, that we're all familiar with, like where they say, I know how that works, and you go, me too, I work here, right? So something similar to that. Uh, but I have adults that are crossing their arms, and I learned, and it took me way too long to realize this, that just because someone is crossing their arms doesn't make them confrontational automatically.
Sure.
Body language wise, it does. But I've had people where I make a joke about it, and they go, "Oh no, I'm just more comfortable like this. I'm nothing against you." And then they keep their arms down the rest of the time, and now they're more open. Or if they do this, I now know it's fine. They're not trying to go against me. Usually, if they're really truly the kind of person that just doesn't care, that just goes, all right, magic boy, whatever, I know how that works, I'm not interested, I don't really engage with them, right? If they say something, I can tend to just keep moving past it, because the more you engage with it, unless you've got a great way to tear a heckler down, which is not always the best look for you,
Yeah.
it's ignoring them keeps you from giving them power. And Eugene Berger, I remember, told me once that if someone says, "Hey, I know how that works," he leans in, or at least he used to, he would lean in and go, "Sell it to them later," and then
Sell? You
sell
say
sell
sell?
it to them later.
Sell it to them later. Yeah.
DLL, sell it to them later. But I thought that was just such a great line. And sometimes if someone says, like, "Oh, like, here, pretend you're a heckler and you say it's a trick deck, like I'm doing Svengali deck, whatever it is," and blah 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 blah, and you say,
Trick deck.
"Sorry, what was that?
The trick deck.
This is a
Yeah.
trick deck?
Yeah,
Do you know
totally.
how to use it?"
What, you give it to them if they said yes?
No, no. I said, "Do you know how to use it?" And you go, "Yeah, okay, well then show them." Because I mean, clearly, I mean, I go for it. Yeah.
A little shaming.
No, because the thing is too, sometimes those people, they want to have that attention,
Right.
and there are certain situations where I give it to them, and I say, and not when I say give, I mean the attention, not necessarily the thing, but where I go through something, and if I don't have time or ability to switch the deck and go, "No, you're welcome to look at it all you like." If it's a moment where it's very vulnerable and there's really nothing else I can do, I say, "Do you know how, not how it works? Do you know how to use it?"
Uh,
Right? You know how to use it? Yeah. Show them. Go for it. And they'll be like, "No, man, it's cool. You keep going." But really? I mean, we could talk about this later if you want. I mean, no, all right. And I'll keep going, and they'll just stop.
yeah.
And if they do say they know how it works, they will either be good enough at it that we all go, "Wow, that was really good," or they just have no idea what they're doing and they just kind of sheepishly hand you the deck back. I'm not a fan of shaming people. I don't like doing that, but there are times when you just need to say, okay, here's your place. I'm going to put you in it for a second. We can talk about this later, but you came to see me, so
Yeah.
take a moment to just shut the trap while we do this. Otherwise, if you're so good, I don't need to be here. And like
Right.
I've actually done a couple times where someone will say, I know how that works, or it's a
Yeah.
trick deck, whatever it is, and go, oh, you do. Oh, well, then I don't need to be here. I got another group anyway. I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll just leave. I'll just walk off. And those people will now get on that guy.
Right.
Come
Totally.
on, you ruin this experience for us.
Right.
And most of the time, though, and it's very rare. It's very rare that that
Yeah,
happens. And
of
again,
course.
everyone watching this or listening who knows me, they know I'm not a confrontational person, but I can I can put someone in their place if I need to because I've done it long enough. But those situations are rare. It's usually just people that want to be heard, and if you give them a second to be heard in a way that's non-confrontational, or you make a little joke out of it, that's usually as far as it goes.
Do you have any self-inflicted rules that you put on yourself that you kind of follow when you perform for other people? Do you have like
Yeah.
things that you won't do? Or yeah,
Yeah, I actively avoid using hack lines. There are some that, and please understand, anyone that's watching this or listening to this, I'm not saying that to offend you or make you feel
sure.
like where you go, oh, I've used these lines or my whole career, my whole life, I make money, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're a bad person for using them. I'm just saying you're not being as creative as you could be, right? We all use them. We all
Right.
start using them. But if you actually spend some time listening to your audience members, listening to what people are saying to you or how people are responding, people just give you things, man. They just give stuff to you. You just got to write it down or put it in your phone or something. And go, oh man, I wish I thought of that. Because a lot of times, these people, not being magicians, will see something in what you're doing that you just won't because you've done it so long, so many times. You put yourself in your own little box, and so um, at the magic shop, I will perform sponge bunnies, as I mentioned, and I now intro every performance of the Sponge Bunnies with the same thing because of something that happened a year ago. I'll start off by saying, do you like rabbits? Do you like
Yes.
rabbits?
Sure.
And most people will say yes. And I say, I know this sounds silly, but I genuinely ask because last year, true story, I was going to do this trick for a girl. I said, do you like rabbits? And she starts physically backing up, going, no. It was like a phobia, right? It was like a phobia, leptophobia for the nerds that care. And it's just a fun moment of truth. I'm bringing in something that actually happened to me and saying this is why I'm asking if you like rabbits. And I like there was a girl a couple months ago, similar sort of situation, didn't like rabbits. I said, why not? She says, I don't like the way they jump. You can't write that. That's hilarious to me. Like she just watch it, it just jumps and she goes, gross. Like I don't what's happening in your brain that's a problem for you? Is it just rabbits or is it any small thing that jumps? Like let's unpack this. That's fascinating to me. And I love that idea of being able to connect to people where they go, yo, yeah, I love rabbits. And you have the people that make the joke, oh, yeah, I love rabbits. They're delicious. And then you go, well, don't worry. It'll be pretty hard to eat these. And they come out the same color on the other end. Right? And then it's stupid, but by
Yeah.
bringing in reality, you get people interested. So I will say stuff that people gave me unintentionally all the time. Like I'll do hopping halves, and I came up with a version that I do where instead of the coins jumping back to my hand, everything's on the table and it's under a bill, a folded bill. And so I like the isolation of it. And there's a moment where I say, now there are some people that think that when I put the coin in the pocket, it doesn't actually go in the pocket. They say you're hiding it in your hand and secretly slipping it underneath like a ninja. Do I look like a ninja? And so I'll ask you, David, do I look like a ninja?
No. No.
Have you ever seen a ninja?
No.
No? Then how the hell would you know?
Right, exactly.
Right? But then and sometimes when people say, yes, I'll just do this and go, how about now? How about now? And there was a kid that said, you look worse now. That was a real thing. A child said to me out loud. And
Worse?
I thought that was hilarious. And so I'll mention that moment sometimes, right? But people will say things that will change how you do stuff. And the hack lines I try and avoid as much as I can. One of my favorite lines that I ever came up with, and by the way, anyone listening to this, you are welcome to use this line. Video permission. Now, anyone, this is proof now. It's out there for everybody. The classic gag when you drop something or someone drops a card on the ground and you go, whoop, sudden gust of gravity, right? Old joke, very old, been around forever. I came up with a way of saying it where something drops and I go, wow, good thing the floor was there. Otherwise, that could have gone for miles. It's
Yeah.
a silly joke, but it is my evolution of an old joke,
Yeah.
right? Same kind of idea, but my logical brain went, oh, wouldn't that be funny? If there weren't a floor, it's true. It's kind of like that old dig a tunnel through the earth to China thing.
Right.
Like if you drop through, will you just go back again because you're dropping down
Yeah.
for the others? Right? How would that look? And I love the absurdity of it. I love the absurd nature of a visual that you can give them in their head.
Right.
So hack lines, I try and avoid those definitely.
The the
I
the
will
one
also,
I hate is the one where they say, "Have you ever helped a magician?" And they say no, and you say, "Well, you're not helping one now." I hate that one.
or the clean hand. No, no, the queen hand. And look, I've used them.
Oh yeah,
I've
the
used
clean
all of them.
hands one. Yes, yes.
Or the queen hand ones. I have used all of those lines.
Oh yeah,
Most of
we
us
all
have,
have.
right?
Yeah.
We all have. And I'm much older. I don't, I was once young and stupid, and now I'm just stupid. So I try and keep everything as original as I can. Um, there's a really great joke that I heard John Armstrong tell. It's hilarious. I love it when people we're talking about the crossed arms thing, right? Where crosses the arms and he goes, "Looks like you're in the official I ain't buying this crap position." And I think that's really really funny, right? And that's observational comedy.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
and so just pay attention is what I'm saying. If you want to be better with your lines, listen to your audience and pay attention to your surroundings, and they will give you so much gold, so much.
Yeah.
It's amazing what I've been able to learn from people. So hack lines for sure. Try and avoid those definitely. I will also, and I think this goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm not sexist. I'm not racist. Um, I don't use any of that kind of humor. It's not interesting to me. I don't, there's a time and a place for funny jokes and certain environments where certain jokes work. But I'm a magician who does a little comedy. I'm not a comedian. I'm not up there to tell jokes, and I certainly am not up there to try and offend people. Most of my gigs are corporate. I cannot
Mm.
afford for a
Sure. Oh
company
yeah.
to say, give me a bad review because I insulted somebody trying to be funny.
Yeah.
I'll give you a particularly embarrassing example. I'm ashamed of myself that I ever used this line. Okay? It's not racist or sexist, it's nothing like that, but it's insulting. And
Okay. Yeah.
uh I can't remember who I saw do it, but I saw a magician do it in like a video and I went, "Oh, that," and I was like 18 or 19. I was like, "Oh, that's funny." And I used it successfully with got some laughs 2 or 3 times. And then I used it on somebody else at an event. So I was in Sandusky, Ohio, working for a big event for a festival, and we were doing restaurant magic. And I went to there was a middle-aged lady sitting at a table, and I remember this really specifically. It hurt. It hurts. It like hurts my soul that I ever said this out loud to anybody. Um, I asked her to hold her hand out because I'm gonna put something on the hand. And I go, oh, nice lines. Looks like you're gonna die in about a week.
Wow.
Yeah, right? Right? It's not good. It's not good. It got laughs, and then it very much didn't.
Yes.
It was stone silence, and the woman was deeply, deeply insulted. And I
Yeah.
tried to apologize, and I was like, it was just a joke, didn't mean anything by it. And she was like, I was mortified. I was mortified. So stuff like that, just because you hear it, just because someone got a laugh from it, doesn't mean you should say it. Certainly not without permission, anyway. But use your brain, man. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Don't be an idiot. So that for sure. I'm not Rexist or sexist. I
Just
used to be dyslexic, but I'm KO now. Um, I'm not sexist or racist in my humor or anything that I do. I'm not
yeah.
blue. Um, I can be a little flirty. I can be a little, little innuendo here and there if it's very light and if it's the right environment. But it's not usually my thing. Um, and then yeah, so yeah, I don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Uh, yeah, I mean those are pretty much my hard and fast rules. Don't be sexist. Don't be racist. Don't insult people. Uh, Try not to use hack lines if you can, and just have respect for your audience members
Mhm.
constantly.
Yeah.
That's
You,
that
you
that will save you so much trouble.
you mentioned that you love sponge rabbits. If
I do.
if someone's watching this and they're either a coin magician or a card magician, and you're the teacher for a second, and you know they've got a magic closet or they've got a magic drawer, what's one thing they could just go and grab tomorrow and walk out the door with, and you think they should start with that? Start practicing with something that they probably already have. What do you think that would be?
In terms of like a basic magic shop trick that they probably
Yeah,
have, or
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah, yeah.
oh, that's a really really good question.
I mean, you
I
said
would say
invisible deck. I don't know. Is
oh
that
yeah,
a
yeah,
fit?
no, no. I in fact in my first set of lecture notes available online on penguinmagic.com. My first set of lecture notes, Skybound, I published two routines using an invisible deck, two or like one routine, one effect that are really unusual, and everyone just assumes you can do one thing with it. But you mentioned Craig Petty earlier. Craig's Visible project is
Right.
brilliant. There's so much good stuff, so many good ways to use Invisible Deck. In fact, he read my routines after putting Visible out and went, "Oh crap, I would have loved to have those on the project because they're so different." I would say just grab anything, grab something and try and do something different with it. A great example is a the crystal casket. So
Oh yeah.
the little, crystal coin case, crystal casket. So for those that don't know or don't recognize the name, it's the little red piece of square, little red square piece of plastic, semi-transparent, that's got a circle cut out of the middle of it and a piece of plastic that goes over the top and the bottom. You put a coin in and then rubber bands around all four sides so it stays together. Cover
Right.
it with a silk napkin, whatever, and then it disappears and reappears wherever you want. I love that thing, and I do a lot of different stuff with it. I've demoed it thousands of times, but it fits in your pocket. It's a little unusual, and I like to tell people this is a
Mhm.
little plastic prison. Don't worry, we don't have a person small enough to fit in there. It's just the coin, just the coin. Do you have a coin on you? Have you initials, sign, whatever you like? And I say, now, if I put this in the plastic prison, it'll just slip right out and I just let it fall out, right? But that's what the rubber bands are for. By putting the rubber bands on, it becomes 4 times stronger, which is crap, but it sounds good, right? And
Yeah.
I shake it, shake it, shake it. And the first time I say, does anyone have a man's silk kerchief? Anyone? Does anyone have a man's silk? No, this napkin will do. Take it here, wrap it all up, put your finger on it. Would you like to see this visibly or invisibly? Boop, there's the coin. They unfold, it's still sealed up, right? Classic approach. But then I take it a step further because I realized everything is done so hidden, right? Because you don't want to see how the method works. I'm not going to expose it here, but go look it up. How the method works. Can I do it in the open and still get away with it? And I found that I could. In fact, I found that I could activate the method and then hold the coin under the crystal coin casket, but it still looks like it's in it.
Oh,
Like there's a technical little discrepancy, but it's there. And I hold it at the very edge, so the coin is at the edge of my fingertips, and I have them hold their hands out. And I say, you want to see the first one invisibly? Here's what it looks like visibly. And you see it melt out and then drop into their hand. Same thing, same
yeah.
method, just slightly different way to change the ending, a little bit different
Yeah.
handling. And then I do another thing where I have a penny and a dime using the classic penny and dime gimmick, where I can have a penny and a dime examined. And after this, David, if you like, I can send you I have a link to the video of me doing it. I can send it to you if you want to see it. But you have a penny and a dime examined. You put one in the crystal coin case and the other one in your hand, and you shake. Boom! Now they transpose. So there was a penny here, now it's a dime, and the penny's over here. And open it up, hand out the coins again, and everything's super clean and it's fully examinable before and after.
That's
That's
great.
just from doing it. Thank you. It's just doing it a million
Yeah.
times and going, I like doing this, but I don't like doing this the same a million times. I want to try and see what else I can do. And so again, it's sort of like how we talked about the evolution of that joke, sudden
Right.
gust of gravity, to imagine if the floor wasn't there anymore, that could have gone for miles. Same kind of idea. We have this trick, and the effect, the basic effect, the coin penetrating out of its case, out of its little plastic prison, the effect does not change. It's just
Yeah.
how it is perceived visually, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
reach in, you got a crystal coin case, crystal casket, whatever you want to call it. Take it out, do a little more with it, and maybe do a transposition. Use a copper silver coin, because that's essentially penny and dime, right? You've got the little copper
Yeah.
silver piece blocking shell. So uh, use a copper silver coin, or put something in it that's not even a coin but it's flat. Imagine if you did it with here's a great idea, I think. People collect coins,
Yeah.
right? What is it, numismatists or numismatists? I never know how to pronounce it properly. But the people that collect coins, that crystal coin case looks kind of a lot like a lot of those little protectors for really valuable coins
Mm.
or really valuable objects. So what if you did it with a stamp, right? What if it was a stamp that transposed, right? You
Yeah.
just did a double face stamp, or you had a coin. You said this was just to protect the very special coin. Or here's another thing: what if you uh, what if you wrote initials on the plastic, but like on the inside, so it looks like the initials are on the coin? So think about this for a second, right? Use a double-headed quarter, right, and have initials on the inside of the plastic, right? So you can show it, and then you'd flip it over, boom, and it changes. And then when you take the coin out and shake it again, now it vanishes entirely and it appears on the plastic, right? It jumps. You could do all sorts of cool. That's just off the top of my head right now.
Your next
Like,
Penguin download. This is, I picture it, right? They tell them to sell it with the item, with
right?
UFO or whatever it's called.
I've said this a million times, and I will continue to say it in lectures and interviews, stuff like that. It is not about making magic believable, because it is inherently ridiculous. When it
Yes.
comes to talking to strangers, when it comes to doing magic, it's about making magic relatable. We talk about connecting to people all the time. And had a conversation last Magic Live, not this one, last Magic Live with Michael Weber about this. I said, it's about making magic relatable, about really connecting with people. I pointed to the people at the bar and I said, how many of those folks do you think actually connect with their audience? Genuinely. And he said, probably not many. And I go, yeah, I would wager that too. Not that they're bad magicians, not that they
Right.
don't know what they're doing,
Right.
but it's a lot of move monkeys. It's a lot of people that let ego get in the way. And it's just about the effect and not about the experience. So if you want the experience to be better, find a way for them to experience it. And it really feels immersive, really feels like you care if you find that thread that you can connect to, whether it's a favorite color or a shared memory or something that people can go, oh yeah, yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
I saw those. I did that.
Okay. Yeah. Um, quick short answers.
Yeah.
First marketed trick you remember performing
Well, of my own or just in general.
in general, like when you were young, like you remember having a
Oh, it was a if you're talking about like a prop, it was from a Phantasma magic kit. It was
yeah.
probably the miniature linking rings and the
Okay.
Phantasma magic.
Yeah. I remember the the box that you put the nails in and you make the coin flip up. The penetrating coin with the nails.
Oh, yeah, 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 for sure. If you're talking about like a single product,
Yeah.
it would probably be Mr. Mysterio's uh, Wonder Deck.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have a favorite card in the deck?
Three of Hearts.
Oh, okay. Uh, what's the most awkward place you've ever performed?
Oh, that's a really good question. Most awkward place. Oh man, keep coming in with the
No,
hard hitting
no,
questions there, David.
no strip clubs, bat mitzvahs.
Oh, okay. You know what? I did a bar mitzvah that was incredibly awkward. Oh no, no, I've got it. I've got it. Okay. No, I haven't. That bar mitzvah was incredibly awkward, but no, I have a worse one. I was hired to perform at a brewery because there was a charity event in not was it La Jolla? No, it was Carlsbad in California. And I was like, cool, what am I going to do? And they said, we're going to set you up at a table and people will just come to you and you'll do magic. And I go, great, that sounds simple and easy. And they go, oh, and there will be three rock bands playing about 20 feet from you.
Oh my gosh. It's awful.
So everything I had to do was silent because it was one band after the other the entire night, like 20
Okay.
feet away from me. So it's me going. So
Yeah.
that was definitely, if not the most awkward, one of the most awkward, certainly.
Have you ever performed for a celebrity?
Many times.
One that pe most people would recognize or just their mouths would drop out.
Uh, all CeeLo Green, Patton Oswalt, Andy Grammer,
Yeah.
but bunch of people. Yeah.
That's okay. Those are big. What's your favorite magic book?
Uh, it, in general or at the moment?
All time.
Favorite magic book of all time. Look, man, I've got a real connection to Mark Wilson's Complete Course. It taught me so much, and I was lucky enough to meet the man himself before he died just
Oh, you're
once.
so lucky.
He didn't sign the book because I forgot to grab it, but no, that book was my very first like real. I had a magic book before that, but that was my first real book of like
Yeah.
real trick. That if you don't have the book, go get it, go get it. But yeah, that's probably my favorite magic book of all time in terms of
I think you need
how
to
it
get
changed
it.
me.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
If you could
for
only
sure.
perform one trick for the rest of your life, what would it be?
You know the answer. It's a
Uh,
hot
uh,
rod, baby. Yeah.
so you've mentioned some places you have performed. What's a dream location that you would like to perform? Like where would you love to perform?
You know, I have a lot of cool places, but it would be really cool to be able to perform uh right, you know what, it's tough because I do have a few different answers. I've performed at the Magic Castle before,
Yeah.
but not under my own name. It was as assisting my then fiance in the stage show in the palace. I've performed like downstairs, in the
Okay.
like the dungeon area and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
my dream since I was a little kid was to uh, perform in the close-up room and do an act that was worthy of the Vernon days. But
Yeah.
besides that, my big dream was to perform on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, which could never happen because he's dead. But
And he loved
that's my
magicians.
he was a great magician himself, loved
He loved
magicians.
it. Yeah. And he had magicians on often.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. In fact, if you watch the footage of Michael Amar on doing the folding bill, like the floating bill and the folding bill, Johnny was hooked up so that it would look cleaner. Um,
So finish the sentence. Magic is.
a gift of a moment.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. Hey, is there you got any projects coming up or anything that
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, working on a brand new type of PK ring that's never been done before. It's called the Thieves Ring. It's really, really cool. I think you guys will really enjoy it. That should be coming out, if not by the end of the year, early next year. But I do have in the next few months something coming out with Trick Trick Boom, which is
yeah,
not Roddy McKee, Noel Coulter's company.
yeah,
Now, this is the prototype. It will not look like this, but it'll be a four envelope banknight that's not like any banknight you've ever seen, and they're all different colors. It's very very cool, and I think
that's
you guys will
cool.
really enjoy it. And I perform it walk around. I perform it all the time, and I keep it right in my wallet. So yeah,
That's awesome.
that's coming
Eric,
up.
thanks for talking to me. I'm glad we got a chance to connect.
Thanks for letting me talk to you for way too long, David. I
That's
appreciate you. I know I kind of go on a rant, but this was so much fun. So much
yeah,
fun.
that's awesome. You know, I'm from California too, right?
I did not know that. Where are you from?
Sacramento.
San Diego.
My yeah, okay. My sister lived in San Diego for a spell. She went to college out there, and I would visit her often. That was
I
when
used
I
to do
lived in
shows. Yeah.
lived in LA.
Sorry, I didn't mean you. Say.
Yeah, I was in LA at the time, so I moved to LA. So I was in that area. That's
Very nice.
awesome.
I used to do shows on the Delta King Riverboat in Old Sac.
Okay. Yeah, very familiar. Hey, have a good night. I'll talk to you later.
You too, my friend.
All right, bye.